Okay. Today we are doing a little review game. It's over 3.1 to 3.3. This is to help you for your quiz tomorrow. For this first one on your boards, I want you to go ahead and write the original problem. Show me your answer once you have the answer. Go ahead, problem number 1. First things first, find the product or the quotient. I have two negative numbers I'm multiplying together because that's an even number. The number 2 is even. Will my answer come out positive or negative? Negative. It's going to be positive because I have two negatives, all right? Then you can cross-reduce. When I cross-reduce now, I am simply just going to multiply the numerator together. 3 times 1 is 3. And then you'll multiply the denominator. 2 times 5 is 10. Once again, there were two negatives multiplied together, so that equals a positive. The correct answer is 3/10. Yes. Problem number 2, we're finding the quotient. I have one positive and one negative, so my answer has to be a negative. And then 16 divided by 4 is 4, so the correct answer is -4. This one is asking you to simplify the expression. The main thing I want you to remember is when adding and subtracting, you must have a common denominator. So here I have 2/5 x minus 1/10 x. I need a common denominator. What would the common denominator be? 10. So what does 2/5 become? 4/10. 4/10 is equivalent, and then I'm subtracting 1/10 x. Okay, remember, same sign, add and keep, different signs, subtract and take. So we have to subtract and take the sign of the larger number. So that would be 3/10 x. Listen, a lot of you said negative, but the negative goes with the 1/10. That's smaller. So take the sign of the larger number. If that's not correct on your board, go ahead and erase it. Here's the next thing a lot of people did. They said 3/10, and then they looked at this and they saw +2 minus 5, and that is 3. This is the answer many of you put. Guys, what family is this in? The x family. So tell me 3/10 x. Next up, you always must have some kind of a positive or a negative in between connecting the terms. Should this be positive or -3? Negative. That is a -3. So 3/10 x minus 3 is the correct answer. For this one, it only asks you to identify something. That doesn't mean solve anything, just identify. A variable term is a term that has a variable in it. So my variable terms are -2x and 3x. Some of you made that a little bit more complicated than you needed to. Just identify the variable. For this one, you're finding the constant. Remind me, what is a constant? A number that stands alone. That was 5 and -7. When finding the sum, you are not allowed to circle and underline whenever there are parentheses up there. So instead, you have to drop it down. I do not need these parentheses anymore because there's nothing that I can combine inside, and there's no number or no negatives on the outside. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop down 5x plus 7. Because this is a plus sign, I am able to let these second set of parentheses just kind of float away. Okay, you don't need them anymore. So bring down the -2x and bring down the -4. Whenever you have something like this, I don't want to see a plus and a minus next door to each other. When you add a negative, that just means that you're subtracting, okay? So you can just go ahead, you can cross this out, or you can erase it. I don't care either way, okay? But it's as if the plus sign goes away. Now we have 5x minus 2x, +7, and -4. When I combine these two together, what is 5x minus 2x? 3x. And then what is 7 minus 4?
3.
+3. So the answer is 3x plus 3. Same idea here. We're finding the sum. So I can drop the parentheses on the first one. I'm also able, because that's a plus, I can drop the parentheses and then everything else can drop down. Remember, once again, I have plus a minus right here, so you can get rid of your plus because that just means you have to subtract it. Now I'm going to underline and circle. Remember, guys, same sign, add the numbers, keep the sign. So you get -5y. A lot of you put just 5y. You have to keep the sign. Then 9 plus 1 is +10. So the correct answer is -5y plus 10. This one is asking us to find the difference. So it's different than the last one because we're subtracting. This right here, I don't need those parentheses anymore, so I'm just going to drop down what's inside. Next up, remember we've talked about this technically means I am multiplying a -1 times all of these. But since that's tricky for us to think about the distributive property, we learned a trick that we can change the minus to a positive or to a plus simply because we like that better. However, the rule says if I change this randomly to a plus, I have to change every single one of those to the opposite of what it is. So what's the opposite of positive 9x?
Negative 9.
Okay, so I'm going to bring down a negative 9x. On the quiz, a lot of people just left this one and dropped it down. But remember, you need to do the opposite. What's the opposite of plus 8? Negative 8. Okay, so now when you see I've got plus a minus, I can just cancel that one out. And I can see that I have negative 3x, negative 9x, positive 4, and negative 8. Once again, let's combine these terms here. Same sign, add the numbers, keep the sign. What do you get for the x family? Negative 12x. But here's what I saw a lot of people did. A lot of people just put negative 12. You have to remember, guys, there was a variable there, so you must bring down the x with it. Now, let's combine positive 4, negative 8. What do you get?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. So the correct answer is negative 12x minus 4. Once again, still finding the difference. I no longer need my parentheses up front, but now I've got a negative outside the parentheses. So I have to distribute that negative to everything on the inside. I'm going to change it to a positive, but that means everything on the inside changes to its opposite. So now I'm going to get negative 1.4y, and this positive 3 changes to a negative 3. Once again, I can get rid of this plus because there's two signs side by side. I'm going to underline and circle. This right here, you can see these are different signs, so I'm going to subtract the numbers and take the sign of the larger number. Most of you guys got that answer was what?
1.1.
1.1. Listen, a lot of you just left it as 1.1. This is the y family, so you have to bring down the y. Now I have negative 7 minus 3. Same sign or different sign?
Different sign. Same sign.
Same sign, because every number has a sign. That sign's directly in front of it. This is a negative, that's a negative. Add the numbers, keep the sign. What do you get? Negative 10. So it's 1.1y minus 10. I simplify the expression using the distributive property. Make sure you multiply by everything inside. So let's do this first one. Guys, what's 4 times 3m? 12m. Then what is 4 times negative? This is a negative 1n. Negative 4n. Okay, so that is how you use the distributive property. We've got one last problem for our game today. I want you guys to write the original problem, show work, and then box your answer. Here is problem number 10. Once again, we're using the distributive property. So the way you show me work is to show me you understand that number outside the parentheses gets multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. The first one, class, what's 3 times 5m? 15m. Now here's where a lot of people made a mistake on their quiz. What is 3 times negative 2? Negative 6. And then a lot of people just left that alone. What should I do with that plus 6? Drop it down. Now we know I have the m family, and then these are my constants. These can get crossed out, so what's the final answer? 15m is the correct answer. Please don't forget tonight your homework is to do quiz corrections, and then make sure that you study for your test tomorrow.